Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nurse Mark in the Daily Dose of AFA, where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing so you can start your day off the AFA way. And in case you have forgotten,
these are the top results.
And there goes my phone telling me all about it. And in case you all forgotten, AFA is that you are absolutely fucking amazing exactly as you are. And I want you all to say hello to Nurse Mark because he is AFA on the road doing some amazing things for the Green Nurse and for progressive therapies all over the country. So Nurse Mark is not here with us this morning. And I just want to tell him that I love him and thank you so much for covering for me last Friday when I was actually not feeling well. So he's on the road doing some things today. And what I wanted to do is I'm going to play his daily love. But what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to read the beginning part of his book because I just think it's really, really fascinating. So it's his introductory chapter, and it goes like this. Have you ever asked yourself why things never seem to change no matter how much you want them to? Have you ever found yourself asking why all of your relationships seem to end in failure? Almost 10 years ago, I came seconds away from ending my life after falling into despair. At that exact moment, I felt as if there was nothing left for me to live for. Fast forward to today, I live the most extraordinary life. I love it. I've been accused of being the happiest guy alive. This is Nurse Mark reading. And I am. I am surrounded by people near and far who truly love me for who I am. I have everything that I have ever wanted. The challenge is this. How do you fundamentally change the way you think? How do you go from life sucks to life happens, good, bad, and I love it? This is Nurse Mark, continuing to read here. I've spent the last 40 years discovering the secrets to creating a life that I love and that satisfies me completely. I'll share how to enter this new reality so that you can start living your life right now, your best life. So this book, Nurse Mark's book, you will discover and understand the following: how we are wired to interact with the world. We're human beings. How events at an early age determine how we react to situations in our lives. How to become aware of your thoughts and how to use that awareness to choose differently. How the food we eat affects everything that we do, and we talk about that all the time. The power of movement in maintaining joy and happiness, and specific daily habits to create the life you love. So this is why we do this every morning, is we want you all to know how amazing you all are. And we're here to bring you hugs and nugs of information on the endocannabinoid system and how you can take care of that. Bio, psycho, social, spiritual aspects of healing. And cannabis is an amazing tool for that. So I'm here alone. Everyone say hello to Nurse Mark. He's on the road. He's working hard. And I'm doing this alone for the first time. And I've never done this alone. So I am definitely stepping outside the box. So what I want to do with you guys all now is I want to play his daily love. So every day, and let me put my little banner up here. This is new. Subscribe to Nurse Mark's Daily Love. And so I'm going to play it right now. So every morning when I wake up, I get this adorable little text message from Nurse Mark. And it's literally one of his readings. So I'm going to play it for y'all right now. Ooh, here we go.
Good morning and welcome to Thursday, April 29th, 2021. The reading for today comes from You Are What You Think by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Failure is a judgment, an opinion. It stems from your fears, which can be eliminated by love. Love of yourself, love for what you do, love for others, and love for your planet. Well, okay, That's a short one today.
There you go.
It's a tiny little blurb,
Flip.
but it includes everything that you need to know about failure. I'm going to share my personal experience with this. Failure is nothing but a judgment. It's an opinion. You have based whatever failure you look at in your life on things that have happened in your life in the past that you don't even know you're dragging into this moment of failure. Maybe it's your father or your mother saying, you'll never amount to nothing. You made a mistake. You never should have done it. Whatever it was, way back in the past, you drag that into any situation that you deem to be a failure. Now, I'm going to tell you, I sold my successful business, one that I didn't have to work really hard at because I knew it inside and out because I'd run it for 30 years. I sold my portion of that business to my business partner in 2017. People thought I was crazy. Why would I do that? I have always had an urge to do something more. Like, that was fine. That business was great. I wanted more, something different. The same with my house. I had a house that I built on land that my great-grandfather had purchased, that my grandmother had given me. It was next door to my parents where I grew up. It was a beautiful home that I had built with friends, that I had designed with a designer, that I'd raised my family in, that I'd been in for 30 years. It was the perfect home for me, exactly as I loved every bit of it. I sold that home in 2018 to move to New York City to move in with a girl that I was dating at the time. Why did I do that? People thought I was crazy because I had to do it. I was motivated and pushed to do it by something that I did not understand, but I knew that I had to. Now, since that time, I occasionally step into looking at that as a failure, as I never should have done it. What was I doing when things become a little difficult and there's adversity? I will turn to that moment in time and it will occur to me as a failure and that I never should have done it. But then I immediately flip it back around and I look where I am today. And where I am today is I'm married to the most perfect person for me. She is absolutely 100% the person I am supposed to walk through life with. I'm in a new business opportunity, two actually, that are exciting, that are exactly what I wanted to be doing in the healthcare space, helping people specifically with mental health issues, but with other health issues, with a goal of helping millions of people. That's where I'm supposed to be. But had I not sold that last business, had I not sold that house, had I not stepped outside of that really good life, I would not have had the opportunity to meet my wife, to be introduced to my business partners, to be a part of this amazing healthcare space. None of that would have been possible. None of it would have happened. And I would have lived a fine life, and I would have died there in the little town that my grandfather was born and raised and died in, that my mom was born and raised and died in. And I would have been miserable because I would not have been true to myself, to my instincts, to my gut telling me that I am supposed to be somewhere else. So if you're looking at something in your past as a failure, consider that it was not a failure at all, that it was a stepping stone to the life that you may not see manifested at the moment, but is coming your way. Oh, I'm so excited for you. And for those who are feeling that they're stuck where they're at, step on out. You know what they say, jump out of the plane and make the parachute while you're on your way down. All right, folks. Have a happy Thursday, April 29th. It's the only one you're going to get. Remember, today really is the only day we have. Make it the best day ever.
There we go. And there is
Good morning and welcome to Wednesday, April 28th, 2021.
Let me turn this down. Rise and shine. And we are all here this morning on this amazing Thursday. And it is going to be an AFA day. And Mark's reading is really, really powerful to me And the reason why it's powerful to me is because of my past story. So this is Throwback Thursday, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what happened to me in my past and how I thought that I was a big fat failure because I could no longer work in the traditional hospital system. So I got sick in 2012 and almost died. I did everything the doctors told me to do. Everything. I did all of their treatments, all of their therapies, took all of their medications, did all of the surgeries. I had a really bad gastrointestinal infection that I caught while I was working in the intensive care unit on multiple medications. And over the course of time, it was one problem after another, one medication after another. And I thought that I was a failure. Literally, how could I be a nurse with all of this experience on mind, body, and spirit, integrative, holistic health, taking care of a ton of people, single mother of 3. I have a child with a disability. I could take care of the world. I felt like I was Superwoman. And all of a sudden I got hit. I got hit hard by an illness that landed me, an infectious disease that almost took my life, and almost took my life a couple of times, actually. Good morning, Jamie. Good morning, Ashley. And good morning, Mary Lou, and everyone else that's joining us today. So Mark isn't here today. He's on the road doing AFA things, as Mark does, but he did share with us the daily reading. And for those that are joining with us right now, I'm just talking a little bit about my story and how I felt like a failure because I couldn't be a traditional nurse anymore in the system. And so the interesting story, the story continues on that I did everything the doctor said, but I'm also an integrative functional health nurse. So I did all of those things that support and nourish the endocannabinoid system. However, cannabis was not in my life. And so it took, this is a great story because this is a throwback story. It took a nursing colleague friend of mine who had retired. She was 70 years old, and she came to my house when I was sick and suffering on over 18 pharmaceuticals, depressed, circling the drain of despair, not wanting to live. That was really hard. That's a really, really hard place to be in, knowing that you have an awful lot to live for, but you don't feel it. That's a really hard space to be in. So that chronic suicidality was, and it's not that I wanted to die. I just wanted the pain to stop. And I didn't know how to make it stop. So this was at the end of 2014. Medical cannabis had been legal in Massachusetts since 2012. And one of my nursing colleague friends came to me, 70 years old, and she disclosed her cannabis use to me. She came to my house and she said, "Sherry, get with the program." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "Get with the program. Cannabis has been legal in Massachusetts since 2012. She says, "I'm sure it's going to be legalized across the country at some point in time." And she said, "You had nothing to lose. You are sick, you're suffering, and you're dying." And she was right. But I was a little offended. I was like, "You're showing up at my house with weed. I got 3 kids, you know what I mean?" And then she pointed to all the pharmaceuticals at my bedside. And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." She said, "You have nothing to lose for. You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain by trying something new and different." And I didn't understand how cannabis could work for me when every single thing that I did didn't work. Pharmaceuticals failed, surgeries failed. I did occupational therapy, physical therapy, saw a psychiatrist, saw a cognitive behavioral therapist, tried to do yoga, couldn't get on the floor, did essential oils, homeopathy. I went and saw a shaman, did a ton of energy work. And it wasn't until that moment when that 70-year-old nurse came to my house with a joint and said to me, "I'm going to tell you something, Sherry." She says, "I've been using cannabis every single day since I was 17 years old. Just a little bit of cannabis every day." And she says, "I've never been hospitalized and I'm not on any ongoing medications." So I had to take a big, giant look at that. And I basically said, "You're right, I have nothing to lose." And so I said, "Spark it up, sister." And so we lit that cannabis joint. And the first 2 puffs, I felt the pain start to melt away. It was almost as if the lights went on, but the pain went away. And it melted away immediately. And I was blown away. I was like, "What? How come no one told me about this?" She goes, well, I'm telling you now. So I was like, you're right. I felt like my head was cracked open and consciousness poured in, and I was pulled out of the story and the sickness, the story of sickness, illness, the trajectory of you're dying, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm very much alive. And this plant relieved my pain in less than 10 minutes. And so I embarked upon that journey, and I started to learn about cannabis. I became a kitchen witch. I got all this stuff. I went to the dispensary, got my medical card, went to the dispensary. I had a ton of stuff sitting out on the table, cannabis flower and tinctures and edibles and topicals and suppositories. I was going to do it any way possible. And when I sat there, I was looking at all this and I was like, how do people do this? How do they figure it out? I just don't get this. And so as I sat there looking at all of my cannabis, I said to myself, if I can figure this out, you can call me the green nurse. And so there you go, history in the making. And so basically part of my story and part of my history for Throwback Thursday is the traditional grassroots community. So if any of you are out there listening, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Because at the particular time, I didn't know of any medical nursing organizations. I didn't know that there was cannabis nursing. I literally knew nothing. All I knew was that cannabis was the plant that people like to use to get high. That's all I knew. So when this happened, when this relieved my pain immediately, and I wasn't high, I had to look at that. I was like, okay, I just did a couple big giant puffs. The pain melted away. My head cracked open. Consciousness poured in. I feel good. Why aren't I high? This doesn't make sense. And then through studying and learning about the endocannabinoid system, through these nursing organizations that I found, I was able to connect the dots. It was the grassroots community that took me in and taught me everything that I know. They taught me everything about this plant, cultivation, extraction, dabbing. I know how to roll the joint, but my joint rolling was horrible. Bongs, all of these different things, dab rigs, bangers, the different types of papers, the different types of products. And I engaged upon that journey and I haven't looked back. And so what initially looked like a failure, right? Just think about this. I was not able to return back to the traditional system for many, many reasons. But what I thought was a failure of me not being able to be a nurse was just completely 100% false. Cannabis allowed me to reinvent myself, allowed me to figure out what I needed to live my best life. And it took a couple of years. I needed to figure out how I could use this plant, incorporate it into my life, use it every day so I can function optimally, take care of my 3 kids, and attempt to have some quality of life. So for Throwback Thursday and for what Mark had to write, I want you all to think about if something isn't going in your life the way you want it to go, if things look horrible on the outside, remember to go in. Cannabis really helped me to go in, to process information, to process emotion, to look at my life through a different lens. Okay, so the glasses, right? The glasses. Take the glasses off, put the glasses on, so the love goggles. And it taught me how to love myself. And in the process of learning how to love myself, I now have a better understanding and capability as how to love patients when they come to us. And so that's why what we say, when we're working with patients is we will hold your hand until you're ready to let go. There is no one more important than you. How do you want to live your best life? And let's take that journey down the road of using cannabis. So that's my throwback story for today. And what we do on Thursdays is we do talk a little bit about history. So I'm going to actually pull my notes up here because I usually have Nurse Mark with me. Going to do a little rearranging on my desktop. Good morning. I have some names here that we got Brazil. Brazil's here. Hello, Brazil. Good morning, Carrie Lee. and someone just went to bed. So Concalco just went to bed. So thank you for joining us this morning and for your bedtime. But I want to get into a little bit more about the endocannabinoid system, because we've been covering the history of cannabis and the endocannabinoid system. And we're just going to go down a little bit of a list of some of the things that we've actually covered the past couple of weeks and the discovery. So in 1942, the CBD molecule was discovered. 1964, the THC molecule was discovered. 1988, the CB1 receptor. So this is the receptor that knows how to use this plant. 1992, anandamide was discovered. And anandamide is the molecule that mimics THC. This is probably my favorite history topic is, and when I saw the diagram and I saw the molecular structure, I was blown away. So, the anandamide molecule and the THC molecule look very much the same, and they act very much the same way in the body. They work on the CB1 receptor, and the anandamide molecule and the THC molecule, what I found fascinating was that the anandamide molecule is 1/10 the strength of the THC molecule, or another way of putting that is the THC molecule is 10 times stronger than the anandamide molecule. And then 1993, they found the CB2 receptor. 1995, 2-AG, which is another internal endogenous cannabinoid that regulates our endocannabinoid system. Last week, we covered in 1997, we discovered or talked about the enzymes, the FA enzyme and the MAGL enzyme. And those are the enzymes that break down our own internal endogenous cannabinoids. And then in 1998, Ethan Russo came out with a statement of the entourage effect, where the whole of the plant is greater than its individual parts. So as we continue on along the history of the endocannabinoid system in cannabis, today's topic is on the trip ion channels. Now, this is a little scientific, but a lot of people want to know these things. How and why does cannabis work? What are all of these neurotransmitters? What are all of these receptors? And so people are taking an interest. So that's why we're gonna cover a little bit of it today. So in 1999, the endogenous cannabinoids, the endogenous internal cannabinoids, they have a wider range of molecular targets besides just CB1 and CB2. So our own internal endogenous cannabinoids, anandamide and 2-AG, not only do they just target the CB1 and CB2 receptors, but they also target other receptors throughout our body. So we're going to cover one of them. It's called the trip ion channels. So these TRP receptors are a large family of transient receptor potential ion channels. This is really cool. And it functions as a cellular sensor. Just look at it as a sensor, tune in Tokyo, in response to heat, light, sound, pain, physical pressure, and other basic visceral sensations throughout our bodies. So researchers have reported that the anandamide molecule, the bliss-like molecule that we make, interacts with these TRPV1 vanilloid receptors. And the studies also determined that 2-AG, which is another one of our own internal endogenous cannabinoids, is also very active at this TRPV1 receptor. And these receptors are instrumental in regulating core body temperature and inflammatory pain. So I found this really fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about CBD and THC. So CBD actually binds directly to these receptors. And like we said, they are cellular sensors in response to heat, light, sound, pain, physical pressure, and other basic visceral sensations. So let's talk about the plant. We're going to bring the plant in now. So several of these TRP channels that are in our body are modulated by our own internal endogenous cannabinoids that we just talked about and other plant phytocannabinoids. And they include CBD, CBDA, which is the acidic version of CBD before it gets decarboxylated, THCA, THCV, CBG, CBC, and CBN. So these are all cannabinoids that are found in the plant. And the properties of many medicinal herbs, so not only just cannabis, but other herbs that exist in nature, are also mediated by these TRP receptors. And if you're just tuning in now, I will get back. I'll just say TRP receptors. They function as cellular sensors, right? And they help us to regulate heat, light, sound, pain, physical pressure. So other medicinal herbs that are also mediated by these receptors include, and I'm sure you've all heard of this, capsaicin, which is hot pepper. It binds to the TPRV1 receptor, mustard oil, and other pungent spices, so really spicy types of foods, activate the TRPA1 receptors. Here's another cool one that I don't think y'all knew about, and I didn't know about this either until I started researching it, is that menthol and peppermint also activate some TRMP8 receptors. They're all part of the TRP receptor family. And this communicates the cooling sensation that we feel in our body. So what I found that this was really, really, really powerful was that, the revelation that anandamide can block one set of receptors, but at the same time stimulate other receptors. It was really, really clear in the research that the internal endogenous cannabinoids that we make have a wider range of molecular targets besides the CB1 and CB2 receptors. Really, really cool. And so next week, what we're going to cover is retrograde signaling, right? This is a little bit of sciencey, but this was something that was discovered so that, the endocannabinoid system, I never learned about it in school, at all, never learned about it in nursing school. It's not taught in medical school. And so these are new types of things that we're learning, and we want you all to understand how this plant is so powerful and how it works in our body. So retrograde signaling, just to give you a quick review, it's a unique form of intracellular communication where the signal, hello, hello, travels not in just one direction, but in both directions, right? So it plays a role in managing how fast or how slow other neurotransmitters fire. Just as the immune system protects against viruses and other pathogens, the endocannabinoid system protects the brain against overstimulation, inflammation, and trauma. So I'm going to do just a quick review on the endocannabinoid system. I like using my little umbrella concept because it just makes sense. I'm going to take a quick sip. Good morning, Melissa. Good morning, Pierre. Good morning, Maria. We're missing Mark today, but Mark did do his daily love. And if you look at subscribe to the daily love by texting AFA Love, you'll be able to hear today's message. And you can also rewind this recording. All right, really quickly. You've all heard me say it before, and I'm going to say it again. The endocannabinoid system is the largest neuroregulatory system in our body. It regulates all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all of the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or stop doing something. So I want you all to think really quickly, because I have all these diagrams. I do this teaching. I've worked at hospitals, doctors, nurses, patients, and people are like looking at the diagrams going, what is this? I don't get it. And so because I have ADHD and I did have issues with learning, I thought I would make an analogy to something that people could really understand. And so I thought of the umbrella concept, my little nursing umbrella here. And how I describe it when I'm working with patients and people that are new to the endocannabinoid system is I have them just imagine, just to close your eyes and just imagine that you are that umbrella. All of the different spokes of the umbrella are all of your other organ systems, your central nervous system, cardiovascular, respiratory, reproductive, integumentary, muscular, skeletal, immune system. So we have all of these systems that make up the spokes of the umbrella. And actually, if you look at it, it shows the interconnectedness of all of our organ systems. And then the little tiny fabric pieces that actually attach to the different spokes of the umbrella are those neurotransmitter signaling systems that we talk about. For example, we just talked about one today, the TRPV1, right? We also have dopamine signaling, serotonin signaling, opioid signaling. So these are the different fabric pieces of the umbrella that attach to the spokes of the umbrella, which are different organ systems. So go to the very tippy top of the umbrella. The cannabis leaf should be way up there. But anyways, the endocannabinoid system, just imagine it, it blankets right on top of our entire umbrella. Just think about how cool that is. So we have this big, giant neuroregulatory system that regulates everything. And so at the tippy top of the umbrella is our endocannabinoid system, blankets on our entire umbrella. And that, just to think about this, the endocannabinoid system is an on-off switch. So think of all the fabric pieces of the umbrella and all the spokes of the umbrella and how interconnected they are. So if something's going on in one of the spokes of your umbrella or a fabric piece of your umbrella, the endocannabinoid system is going to turn on and is going to release these internal endogenous cannabinoids. And the goal, like we said, every day is homeostasis or balance among all of the organ systems. And so we make the anandamide and the 2-AG upon demand to rain on our umbrella, to give messages to the fabric pieces of the umbrella, the neurotransmitter signaling systems that then interact with all of our other organ systems or the spokes of the umbrella. So the endocannabinoid system, most powerful system in the world. That's what I say. It's going to change the world. It's going to change how we take care of patients. And the reason why is because every single thing that we do or don't do in our lives affects the endocannabinoid system. We're either nourishing the endocannabinoid system or we're not. It's as simple as that. You know, it's not like, you know, I'm kind of doing it, I'm kind of not doing it. No, you're either doing it or you're not. You're either exercising or you're not. You're either eating healthy or you're not. But we don't want you to beat yourself up if you're not doing all the things that you should be doing. It's just an awareness, just an awareness of how we can take care of the system, the very, very tippy top of the umbrella, right? So things that support the system, we talk about it all the time, are those lifestyle things, right? So food, fast food, fried food, fake food, artificial flavors, artificial coloring, trans fat, hydrogenated oil, high fructose corn syrup, and sugar all can diminish the endocannabinoid system's ability to release its own internal endogenous cannabinoids, right? So that's the goal. We want to bring in plant phytocannabinoids that are going to kind of supplement what we're not making. Because if we're not making enough of our own internal endogenous cannabinoids at the tippy top of the umbrella, we don't get rained on. And we don't get rained on, what happens is our body's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And it tries to figure it out on its own. And that's when our umbrella starts not to work so well. So tips and tricks, endocannabinoid system, the holy oil in the Bible is CBD. I'm convinced now. Me too. I'm telling you. I'm convinced as well. You know, the plan has totally changed my life and the lives of so many different patients that we're taking care of. So take care of your endocannabinoid system, do that breath work, get outside and exercise. Motion is the lotion. Make healthy food choices. Try to avoid alcohol and nicotine and sugar, and just do the best you can with what you have right here, right now. And so, like I said, part of my story back to the past was that my endocannabinoid system was shot, right? You think about it. I look back and I'm like, I did every single thing the doctors told me to do. And I also did all of those health and wellness activities. And nothing worked until cannabis came into my life. And once cannabis entered into my life, all of those different tools that didn't work started to work again. And so I want to leave you with that little bit of hope and inspiration for growth and healing, so you all can. What we're trying to do here, Nurse Mark and I, every day, is to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Okay? H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. So this has been Thursday. Oh my God, what's the date? Thursday the 29th, I think, right? It is. It's Thursday the 29th. And here we go. Here's my little angel message. I'm going to end with my little angel message. Angels today say, it is possible to find joy, no matter what your outward circumstances appear to be. There you go. It's possible to find joy no matter what your outward circumstances appear to be. And let me just tell you, my outward circumstances when I first found cannabis was horrible. There was no joy. Guess what? The light switch went on the minute I took that puff, the second puff, and started to learn about this medicine. So what do we have going on for the rest of the week? Well, Nurse Mark will be joining us. Well, actually, if you look tonight, I forgot, I'm doing a panel tonight in Washington, D.C., virtually, remotely. And if you look at the events, that's right, Denise, my circumstances do not define me. When we get back to Mark's message, the core of who I am is absolutely fucking amazing, regardless of what's going on around me, including those illnesses and sicknesses and autoimmune pain flares and, and all the garbage that's outside. Can't let that affect what's going on inside. So thank you so much, Denise, for mentioning that as well. And when we work with patients and even when we work with ourselves, we look at the mind, body, and the spirit, and the spiritual component of healing is just as important. So look at our events. Like I said, Mark is traveling. I am doing a panel tonight with some people in Washington, D.C. The event is right in the Green Nurse event section. So you guys can join me. It's free. It's live. And we're going to be talking about what's going on in Washington, D.C. with cannabis. Tomorrow morning, we've got our 8 a.m. show, Daily Dose of AFA with Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse. And then right after that, I have Denise, Michelle, and Nurse Carrie Lee, all Green Nurses. We're going to be going live in the Green Nurse community, and we're going to be talking about energy healing. We've talked about Reiki, we've talked about reconnective healing, but we have Frequency Fridays where we are using this really cool device. It is a medical device. It has a quantum sensor, and it actually transmits and emits vibration, frequency, and healing. So Healing with Healy, Friday morning, 9 a.m. in the Green Nurse community. So I hope you all joined. I hope you all enjoyed today. Thank you for coming. This was my first time doing this alone. I can't even believe I did it. I'm such a big girl. And I'm going to end how I usually end. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you all have an AFA day. And remember, please remember what it's all about. It's about living your best life, helping others do the same, and decreasing stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye.